driven by, legal risk. So they don't want to be sued, they don't want, and they look for the short-term fix. And that's comes from the CEO. I have a friend who's in HR. She's like, make sure you talk about the CEO, because it's not the HR person actually. It's the CEO who determines how is HR going to approach these problems. And I think if you're in a bad situation, it's like you do have to assess. Like if I go to HR, I can definitely be fired. And I want to make sure that I'm going into it without, with the knowledge of what could happen, knowing what the likely outcomes are, and making an informed decision. So, if you can find out what's happened to other people who have complained, if you can go as a group of people, that can be much more powerful, but it doesn't always solve the problem. Like Google had this huge walkout, 20,000 people walked out, and they basically pushed out the 3 organizers, right? Like, 6 months later, those 3 organizers were demoted, they were kind of pushed out, their responsibilities were more limited, they lost, the team that they were managing, they lost people from their team. So all of the, things that show kind of progress in your career, they were taken backwards. So you really have to think about like what is the approach of my company to these problems? Do I have somebody that I trust who is senior enough to actually change things, or should I be thinking about getting out, right? And if you leave, it's make sure you get what you deserve. Often it's good to bring in a lawyer to negotiate your exit, especially if you're being pushed out. So you can get the equity that you deserve, that you can get the severance that you deserve, and they should be paying you for, kind of limiting your career or having you experience harassment. But it is a hard thing, and it's very individual. Like, most people are not set up to push and to fight. Like, a lot of people have, student debt, where they have family obligations. They may be in college, but they may be, the main potential salary for their family back home. So it's not like, I don't have one solution for everybody. It's not go and do this thing. It's really like, do what you need to do for yourself. And if you have the privilege to be able to do something for other people, then you should do it. But you shouldn't do that at the cost of your own well-being and your own safety.
I'm glad you say that, because I think in my own personal experience, it was illuminating to realize that human resources was not necessarily on my side. And I'm not even sure that this is a perfect question following your statement, but what should CEOs do to ensure that their HR departments are as unbiased as possible?
Oh, it's a good question. It's like the CEO set the tone, and if they, and if, like as a CEO at Reddit, I wanted to know about every harassment problem. Like I wanted to know, one of the things we did, we had not such a great culture when I joined. It had been mostly, I think almost all white men to start out with, and then like it really like fed on the culture of the website, and then Ishan Wong came in and really did a lot of work to clean it up, but it was still pretty messy when I became CEO. Like change takes time. We had an all-hand meeting where we had the whole company come in, and Frida Kapor-Klein and Mitch Kapor came in to talk about the importance of culture, the importance of being respectful, the importance of and basically gave our harassment training in the context of a discussion about culture. And a lot of us internally said the same thing, but we also had outsiders come in and talk about it. And after that meeting, a lot of women came up and were like, hey, I was harassed. Like the behavior that I experienced was not part of what I heard Mitch and Frida talking about and what I heard Ellen talking about. So like, I want you to know about it. And what we did was we took all of those, it was maybe like 5 reports, and we did something about each of them. Like we went to the person who was, who was the perpetrator, and we talked to them, and we said, we're not zero tolerance right now because the culture of the firm was around, was kind of oriented around this loosey-goosey definition of what's acceptable and what's not. But we're now telling you, this is not acceptable. Like now you know, and the next time something happens, we're gonna get rid of you. You're gonna suffer consequences. We will likely fire you. And in all of those cases, people were, they were contrite, like they didn't say they hadn't done it. And we went back 6 months later. We had to fire one person who would not stop his behavior. But everybody else did, and we went back to the women and we asked them, like, have things changed? Has anything happened since? How are you feeling about things? And they were all comfortable, except in, that one case, which didn't even make it to 6 months. But, the part of it is like, and as CEO, I was tracking all of that. I was like, what is happening with this person? What about this person? I told, the VP of this, of one organization, like, have you talked to the woman? Have you talked to the other person who was involved? And, let's make sure that, I'm tracking it because that makes it a priority for everybody who's looking at it and dealing with it. And that's how change happens. And that's how people know, like, this is serious.
Wow. Well, at this time, we're going to open it up for Q&A in our audience. So if you have a question, please either step up or if you could project either parts.